Hello, good people, and welcome to Hillbilly Cat History. 1956. Good memories, good times. Hi, City of Angels girl. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. And we're going to dip into 1956 with a very special feature just before. And we're going to do that as soon as we come back from this song, which is Truth That Sounds Like Lies.
No whisper in the family halls, no doctor's word, no shadowed calls. We searched the papers after he was gone. No cancer written, no sickness drawn. Yet silence breaks in fractured skies. Truth that sounds like lies. Charlie spoke with kindness deep, repeating words he thought to keep, protecting Elvis, guarding flame, or echoing voices without a name. A loyal friend, a gentle guide, truth that sounds like lies. Three voices sing in broken time, each one honest, each one blind. The story bends, the rumor flies, truth that sounds like lies. Fracture born of love's disguise, truth that sounds like lies.
At Graceland's door the doctor came, Vernon ill, his body lame, a secret spoken, hushed and great. Bone cancer spread beyond the grave. I carried words with tearful eyes, truth that sounds like lies.
Cells that look like death's disguise, stained and studied, no disease inside. Not cancers marked but nature in her body, a breaking, nothing to mend. Science clears but rumor cries, truth that sounds like lies. Each heart believed what it was told, each hand held fragments, shards of gold. But when the pieces fail to bind, the world calls false what's true inside. Three voices sing in broken time, each one honest, each one blind. The story bends, the rumor flies, truth that sounds like lies. Fracture born of love's disguise, truth that sounds like lies. In the silence of the king's last song, truth and rumor both belong. A sacred ache beneath the skies, truth that sounds like lies.
Thank you for gathering here at Hillbilly Cat History, where we remember together and listen for the echoes. Today we're going to hear echoes out of 1956, but we're going to start in 1997, which is the year that the book that's on the bookshelf today was published. So let's take a look at it. This is Elvis Precious Memories. And so some of you may recognize this title as one that's been being talked about right now. This is the book that was written or published in 1997 that is by Donna Presley Early, it says here on the side, and Edie Hand, and this other third person, Lynn Edge. This is the book that Donna says no longer accurately represents her. So, since we looked at Donna's other book in the last episode, I thought it might be nice to pair these together so that we can get an idea of what this one was like. Hi, Pat. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. So you can see down at the bottom that it says Donna Presley Early. So this is published in 1997. And there's still people today, it's 29 years later. Donna's been using this Presley name for at least 29 years, and there's still people that believe it's some kind of issue and that it's some kind of recent adoption or something, but you can see it here in print, 1997. Now it's also got Edie Hand. And we've talked about Edie before. She's Elvis's first cousin, thrice removed. I think some people refer to that as third cousin. And we got Lynn Edge, who nobody's ever talked about. Nobody's ever talked about Lynn. So I thought maybe today we would get to know Lynn. Nobody else seems to want to talk about the third person that's connected to the book. And City of Angels Girl is asking about Donna's last name. So Donna's last name here, where it says Early, that is her husband's last name at the time. His name was Early. Their name, the name under which she was born was Pritchett. Nash's last name at that time, and until she passed away, was Pritchett. She was married to Earl Pritchett. And so Donna Early is her married name at that time. But you can see that she has Presley in there, and so she had been using Presley for a while. Not as her last name, but as part of her name. Let's take a look at the back of this one. It says Elvis Precious Memories. And it doesn't really come out too well in this not fantastic camera that I have, but I believe that's a picture of, it says Edie, Donna and Edie share their memories. But it doesn't say, I guess that's Donna and Edie. Let me look here. Yes, it is. But it's so small, it just doesn't come out very well. There are some, there's some quotes from people on the back of this, and one of them is James Blackwood, the gospel singer for the Blackwood Brothers. And the Blackwood Brothers, Elvis really liked the Blackwood Brothers, and you know that he loved gospel singing. He says, I knew Elvis when he was a teenager. He attended Sunday school at the church where both our families worshiped. We sang at his mother's funeral at his request. At his funeral, I sang How Great Thou Art. This book reveals the real Elvis that I knew and loved. Hi, Jen. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. And then there's a couple of other people that are quoted here, but neither of them have a direct connection to Elvis that I know of. There is a couple of other things that I want to look at here. Just get this open. And one is the acknowledgments that are in this book. And they say, we cannot begin to express our appreciation to Susie Pritchett for her help in making this book possible. So that would be Donna's sister. And it says, our heartfelt thanks and love to Buddy Early, that would be Donna's husband, and Link Hand. Now I'm assuming that is Edie's husband, for their assistance and support, in addition to the family and friends who helped with our labor of love toward this project. Without their assistance, Elvis' precious memories would not be a reality. And our special thanks to Nash Presley Pritchett, known to us as Mama and Aunt Nash, for leaving us so many precious memories of our family, and especially the ones of Elvis. Donna Presley Early, Edie Hand. So that was a joint statement that they made together. Hi, Big Money Mike. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. And then it has another acknowledgement, and this one says, I want to express my appreciation to the following people for their assistance in the research and preparation of this book. Audie Akers, Betty Caldwell, Shasta Edge, Suzanne Hamlin, Melanie Knight, Carolyn Lard, Barbara Parker, Garland Reeves, Nancy and Joe Ruzicka, Ruby Sisson, and Anita Smith. I especially would like to thank Judy Honeycutt. Her joy in this project has kept me going, and that was from Lynn Edge. So I thought those were some interesting acknowledgments. Now, who is Edie Hand? Well, we've met Edie Hand a couple of times, but one is on the bookshelf. We already have another hardback book. This is a tiny little hardback book, though. This other one, by comparison, is much larger. So you can see that this Precious Memories is a significant book. I would rate this one, the Genuine Elvis, as it's more of a publishing project, like a tourist little thing that they would sell at tourist Elvis places. And it does have some real memories in it and some rare things, because we have those memories of Gene Smith's wife in here. But it's not the kind of work that Elvis Precious Memories is. But that was Edie Hand. And then we've got this other book, which was One Flower While I Live. And this is the book that Donna is currently selling. This is not the volume she's selling. She's got a new copy of it. This one had George Klein on the back. Donna feels that this represents her more accurately. This is the book that was written by her mother, but Donna does have segments in here. Now, if we just move back to the Precious Memories for a minute, I got a couple of other things I'd like to highlight. One is that I've upgraded some of the bookmarkers that I'm using that make it a little easier for me to flip open these books. And these are just little trinkets that you pick up at places like Graceland or around Graceland. And they look like Elvis's driver's license, although this one says security identification. I don't think Elvis ever had a card that looked anything like this. This is just something they put together and laminate to sell to tourists like me who were there at that moment. Here we can see some pictures of Edie. She's in that group of four. And we can see Donna below that. And there's I think that's Edie again. Yeah, Edie as Dr. Porter, appearing in the daytime drama As the World Turns. So Edie's not just a nobody out there, not just a third cousin. She does have quite a career going. It's not just showing up on daytime soap operas. She's got a lot of credits to her name. And Marion says that the cover of this book looks beautiful and it fits her calm and nice character. And I have to say, I haven't read this book for a long time, but I don't remember anything popping out to me that I would say I don't want to be associated with anymore. And I don't know which passage that is in this book that is being used to attack Donna. And I don't know which passage it is that she no longer feels represents her, or if she just doesn't like the entire project. I think this is a very sweet book, and it's exactly what it says, precious memories. And maybe there's something in here that she now doesn't like, or maybe it's because of associations to the project itself. I'm not clear on any of that. I just don't know. But I don't find anything in here that seems unreasonable for somebody to have said. And compared to a lot of the other books that were on the market at the time, I mean, this is a G-rated Disney romp through the park compared to what some of the people were printing out there. And Big Money Mike says he'd like to get Donna's book. Well, if you'd like to get her current book, you can go to her YouTube page. She's got a YouTube channel out there, and she talks about however it is that I think you need to contact her by email or something, but she's got all the contact information on her YouTube site. And is Edie still alive too? Marion's asking. As far as I know, she is, yes. And City of Angels Girl is mentioning that Edie is a cousin through Minnie May. And in this book, I'll just show a quick, there are multiple family trees in here, and they trace out exactly what all the relations are. So I did show a very simplified version on a previous episode that come out a lot better on screen. And of course, it's not my little web camera here, but if you wanted to own something like that, it is in this book. Of course, this book's not printed anymore. You got to find it on the used marketplace. Let me pull up. I do have a little bit of information about somebody we haven't met. I mean, we've met Edie, we've met Donna. We've at least had small samples of them on the program at some point in the past, but we've never really met this third person, Lynn Edge. And this is Lynn here. Lynn Edge began her professional writing career in 1968 as a general assignment reporter for the Birmingham News in Alabama. She won an Associated Press News Writing Award for her coverage of a sniper shooting in Bessemer in 1969. Lynn was eventually promoted to religion editor of the newspaper. She is also the author of several other books. So Lynn, in and of herself, is an accomplished woman. What we've got here are three accomplished Southern ladies who got together for a project about 29 years ago, probably about 30 years ago, because it probably took a year for the project to come together. But if we look at this particular newspaper article, this is from 1969, July 2nd. And it says Alabama at Amblings, which is, I think, it's the name of the column that Lynn Edge is writing for. And you can see a picture of her. It says Miss Lynn Edge. And so this is like a year after she got into professional writing, says goodbye old rail station, and she's a new staff writer. And it says, I went to the terminal station Monday night, not to catch a train, not to pick up any freight, just to say my last goodbyes. Railroads are very special to me, for trains were my merry-go-rounds, and the benches in terminal stations my slides. As I approached the building, I noticed how many panes were missing from windows. I don't know how long they've been missing, but obviously no effort has been made to replace them, and now no effort would be. Now, Lynn is living through something that affected Elvis because he rode a lot of trains early on in his career in the late 50s. But when he came back in the early 60s, he again rode a train, but they started to phase out. Planes were taken over. And by the 1970s, Elvis is taking a plane everywhere. And it's not just Elvis, it's the whole country. And it's affected this writer who will later write a book about Elvis. And City of Angels Girl says, I remember we were in Fort Bliss, Texas, and my husband had a friend named Nathaniel Presley, and his dad was a cousin to Elvis, but you can't remember his dad's name. And that Elvis had a lot of cousins. And this article says, inside, my heels clicked and echoed in the emptiness. Now, heels clicked, I believe that's a reference to The Wizard of Oz. And if you follow my other program that I do at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time every day, we're walking through the impersonal life, which is all written in spirals, and I often compare it to The Wizard of Oz. But inside, my heels clicked and echoed in the emptiness. I wasn't wearing heels the first time I went into a terminal. In fact, I probably wasn't old enough to walk. My father worked for a railroad, so I could ride the train free, and ride them I did. Almost every weekend between my home in Atlanta and my grandparents in a small Alabama town. I'd always arrive dirty, and as my grandmother put it, smelling like a train. That's an interesting thought, that you would smell like a train when you got off of one. Do you smell like an airplane when you get off of one? I've never really thought about that, but maybe you do. And terminals and trains aren't notorious for being clean. So apparently there was some cleanliness problems on the public transport of the day. That seems to be something that just keeps on going. And then Lynn says, some of my best memories are of playing in big stations or in small rural depots and dreaming of all the places the trains went. Some of my most frightening memories are there too. Like when I finally went to one of those exciting places, New York, and got left in the terminal station. It's a big world when you're 3 and you left your mommy and your doll on the train that just pulled away. A big world with lots of people. That's kind of an Elvis experience as well. He went to New York on a train, and he didn't get left in the terminal station, but it was a big world. There were a lot of people there. And then Lynn says, there weren't lots of people there Monday, though. There wasn't anyone, and there weren't any trains. The station has seen its last of sad farewells and happy homecomings, of sending boys off to war and bringing them back, and of trains and destinations droned in unintelligible tones over a public address system. Although, if you fly today, you'll still hear and have that experience of the droning of unintelligible items over the public express system, address system. And she says, as I left the station, I noticed the sign over the door that bears Birmingham's motto, and that sign, perhaps the terminal, writes its own epitaph. Yes, old friend, it was nice to have you in Birmingham. And Cheryl says that smell is probably coal. That's an interesting thought. It probably is. Or diesel, at any rate. Not sure. It would probably been, well, I don't know what kind of engines it would have used in the 60s that would have been shut down here. And Big Muddy Mike is saying Elvis had a cousin who was a baseball player some years back in Tupelo. That's interesting because he had a bodyguard that was a professional baseball player at one point. And Marion's saying she guesses it was a steam train and the smoke that came out of them was black. Right. Might have been that coal steam. Yeah. And Big Money Mike is saying the cousin was in the minor leagues. And City of Angels Girl says it's Harold Ray Presley, a first cousin once removed of Elvis, served as a deputy sheriff. Though he was not a member of the Memphis Police Department itself, but I'm thinking he was Shelby County, right? And he was the son of Noah Presley, brother of Elvis's grandfather, was known to work in law enforcement. So let's move away from these old memories of Lynn Edge, who has barely any connection to Elvis other than she wrote this book. But this is really going to be our only opportunity to get to meet Lynn. And nobody else out there is talking about her, even though they like to talk about the book itself. Although I don't know what part of the book they're talking about. Here's something that Lynn wrote in 2021. So she's still publishing books, or at least was a few years ago. And this one is From Steel Mills to Stethoscopes, A History of the Birmingham Medical Profession. And she was interviewed after she published this book, and they asked her, what led you to write a book about Birmingham's medical history? And Lynn says, Legacy Publishing approached me about the book, and it sounded like something I would like to take on. Now, the reason that I wanted us to hear this is Lynn's involved in this book about Elvis, but she doesn't appear to be a particular Elvis fan. She is a professional journalist. She writes for a living. She is a professional writer. How does a professional writer who has an interest in many things, she's interested in a whole lot of things. I'm not trying to diminish what Lynn's interests are. It's just that she's not a Elvis fan like probably those of us gathered here. What would lead her to be part of that project? Well, probably something just like this project. A publishing group came to her and said, we'd like to pay you to write a book. Would you like to do that? And she says, well, this does sound like an interesting topic. Yes, I would. And I think most writers, even if they weren't Elvis fans, if someone came and said, I'd like to pay you to write an Elvis book, and I'm going to give you access to two of his cousins, I think most of them would take him up on that. Depending on what the pay is, of course, I'm sure. But the other thing that should be gathered here is that she's professional. She's not doing this for free. This isn't a free deal. Hi, Emily. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. So somebody is providing a salary of some kind in order to get this book done, because I do not believe Lynn's doing it from the goodness of her heart. And this book is substantial. It didn't write itself overnight. And Lynn's going to be doing the heavy lifting as far as the writing goes. I mean, we have to face that. Donna is not herself a writer. And Edie is not herself a writer. And if we look at Donna's self-published book, this book does not have a publisher listed anywhere on it. So I've published a book through Amazon. Basically, I'm the publisher. My book is not a professional book in the sense that a publisher paid me to write it or put it all together for me. So when you open her book, to me, it does not have a professional appearance on these first pages that you would expect if you've read a lot of books. You know what I'm talking about. And this isn't a dig at Donna's publishing. It's just that there are ways to spot when a book is independently published and when some kind of payroll organization, somebody who has money, is involved. Because like when I publish a book through Amazon, it's because I don't have any money, so I'm publishing a book and I'm putting all of the money issues on Amazon, and they're happy to accept them under their current model. Hi, Jeff. Thank you for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. I hope I'm not missing anybody. The chat's moving a little bit faster than normal. So when we look at this Elvis Precious Memories, this is a hardback book that has a dust jacket. It has all of the feeling. See how you open that book and there's nothing on that first page? And then you are onto a page. That's fairly typical of a publishing environment like this. There's this rumor that is being floated around about 5,000 copies and a piece of hair. And if you had 5,000 copies of this, it would have cost you at least $3 a book that you would have had to sunk in. I mean, there's no other way to do it. And I don't think $3 would have covered it. Now, when you have this kind of book printed today, like Donna's doing, and then she's signing it and selling it, she's purchasing copies of the book in advance somehow. So she is sinking money into them, and these are probably $4-ish or $5 a piece. Probably more now with the inflation that's gone on recently. So that just gives you an idea of what it would cost to hold a whole bunch of books in your garage. It would be a lot of money. So my guess is that when Donna gets these published, the independents, and this is simply a guess, this is speculation. It's simply from knowing how much it costs and you have to put into things, and then you've got this bulk of stuff you have to move around, and you can't ship it anywhere without additional cost. You're probably buying 5,000 to 10,000 copies at a time. And that's if you have some substantial money. Think if they were $3 a piece, you'd have to have $30,000 to invest in that, with the hopes that you are going to sell that eventually and turn over maybe twice that. You're maybe going to double your money. I mean, there's going to be a lot more expenses that add up along the way. The publisher is assuming most of those expenses in a published book like Precious Memories. Now here we can see Lynn Edge again. And again, she does have a substantial body of work. You know, this is a professional. So I am wondering what the controversy about the book is. I don't know exactly. But I believe it has to have been a misunderstanding between what was submitted and what made it onto the final pages. And when you're working with a person like Lynn, from everything that I can find, and you have Edie and you have Donna, I think it's got to be a communication issue, and that nobody was out to do anything to anybody else or to say anything bad about Elvis, and that there was simply a lot going on. There was a lot on Lynn's shoulders, and perhaps more proofreading could have been done. but I don't know. I wasn't there. I do know it's a lovely book from what I know about it, from what I can see in it. Maybe if I reread it today, something would pop out at me, but that was our look here at this book. It's probably taken a lot longer than I should have. So I hope you guys found that interesting. Hi, Luann. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate seeing you here. And let's move forward into 1956. And we've got another one of these. This has got to be a Colonel Parker ad, you know, one of these ads that he gets out into the papers to promote the shows. Now, because these have a connection to the Grand Ole Opry, I'm kind of thinking Colonel got the Grand Ole Opry to pay for a lot of this ad placement, but maybe not. But he did have a lot of ways to spread the ad placement cost out. Someday we'll get into all these tricks of the trade that the Colonel had. But this says it's for Sunday, January 15th, 2 big shows, 3 and 8 p.m. in person, stars of Coast to Coast Grand Ole Opry. That means it's being broadcast, the Grand Ole Opry, from coast to coast. Not this show, but these people will know Hank Snow if they listen to the Grand Ole Opry, and they can because the radio show is going all across the country. And Big Money Mike says 1956 was a phenomenal year for Elvis. If it's a roller coaster, he's headed up the hill on this one. And he's not coming down till early 1958 when the government gets him. And this says the Rainbow Ranch Boys will be there, along with Rod Brassfield, who we met in the last episode. Extra, sensational new RCA Victor star, Elvis Presley. The Blue Moon Boys. That's the guys who back Elvis up. That's Scotty, Bill, and DJ. Critics claim Elvis to be the greatest new talent in past 5 years. That's kind of amazing to have on an ad, huh? That he is the greatest new talent in the past 5 years. And there is low admission. 4,000 good seats, only $1. Well, that sounds like they're going to make $8,000 because they've got 2 shows, one at 3 and one at 8, and they got 4,000 good seats. Unless they're splitting that between both shows, but I think it's per show. While they last, reserved section extra, tickets now, kids 50 cents. So $1 for an adult, a kid can go for 50 cents. It's being sponsored by the Alamo Piano Company. Now, what's it mean when it says it's being sponsored by the Alamo Piano Company? I would say there's a 99% chance that the Alamo Piano Company gave some kind of enumeration or cash to Colonel Parker. And that's how they got their name into this ad. That's the sponsorship. Alamo Piano Company. And they may have paid even more, or they might be one of these places that is selling the tickets. Like Colonel would go to somebody in town at a business and say, do you want to sell these tickets at a discount over what their normal price is? And I'll tell people through ads that they're over here. And that gets people over. And then they pay a little something for that to the Colonel. Or they advertise in their own ways. Like, some of these local businesses already have strong marketing connections in the town, and they simply have to tell them what to print. They're already paying for all that stuff. And here's a picture that would run in the paper that says Hank Snow, RCA Victor recording artist, will appear in Municipal Auditorium Sunday at afternoon and evening performances with the Rainbow Ranch Boys and Rod Brassfield and Elvis Presley. So that's the show they're talking about. The Municipal Auditorium. Let's go back. Municipal Auditorium, they're at the bottom. Same show. And there's a picture of Hank Snow smoking his pipe. Because back then, it was okay to smoke. It was even encouraged to smoke. And Luann says to go to a live band today, what's the price of it now? Well, if we took this dollar and we gave it inflation, it would be roughly, I'm going to say $15, $12 to $15. Now, could you go to a live concert today for $12 to $15? I don't think so. Maybe a live show that's at this level, or if you went to a bar that you had to pay a cover and they got a band inside, maybe you could get away with $12. But in general, if you were going to see Hank Snow, an RCA Victor recording artist, no, you would never get in for $12 today. And Marion says that she guesses this was the time when Elvis opened the show before Hank. Well, this was that tour. This is where the learning curve is coming in, that, hey, it's getting very difficult to go on after Elvis Presley. And Big Buddy Mike is mentioning that Hank Snow's son Jimmy was friends with Elvis in 1955. That's true. And then he wasn't friends with him in 1958. And Steve62, hi Steve, I don't think I've ever seen you here before, so welcome to the show, says 5 days after recording Heartbreak Hotel. That is correct, and we did look at that in yesterday's show, although I just mentioned there was a recording thing and I didn't say that it was Heartbreak Hotel. We looked at a couple of other songs, one by Ray Charles, or at least Ray Charles had already recorded it. And here we've got another ad. It says, well, another article. It says Around the Plaza by Renwicky Carey. I'm assuming that picture is Renwicky, if I'm even pronouncing that name right. It's the guy with the glasses and he's wearing a checkered shirt. I'm guessing that's him. This says the box office take approximated $6,800 for the Hank Snow Elvis Presley show at the Municipal Auditorium last Sunday, the biggest gate for a Hillbilly show there in 2 years. Presley, as you must know by now, is rated one of the hottest singers in the business. All right, we got to give it to writer Carey here because he has mentioned the Hillbilly Cat, although he forgot the cat. We'll give it to him, though. Hillbilly Cat Show. It's the greatest one ever. $6,800. I believe that represents 2 full shows of $4,000 apiece, but some of them are 50 cents because they're kids. But I don't know for sure. We just know how much it appears that they took in. Now, how do they know that the box office approximated this? I have no idea. Where did that information come from? And Jeff's saying that Tommy Sands came along with Hank Snow also, and he was underage at the time. I don't know if he's on this tour, but that's an interesting thought because Tommy does hook up with the Colonel around this point. Or he'd already been hooked up with the Colonel. I can't remember the timeline quite right. And here's another one of these ads. It says Monday, show only 8 p.m. So there's only going to be one show at this one. We got stars of Coast to Coast Grand Ole Opry. Looks like the same group. Because they got Hank Snow, they got Rainbow Ranch Boys, they got Rod Brassfield. Extra added Elvis Presley. Now, is he extra? Because he was at the last show. But Elvis Presley, RCA Victor's newest singing sensation. Oh, now wait a second. I wonder if the Colonel's getting some money from RCA Victor for this tour as well, because we got Hank Snow, an RCA Victor recording artist. Says so right here. Hank Snow, RCA Victor recording artist. And we got Elvis, who's an RCA Victor recording artist. I think Brad might be RCA. Brassfield. I mean, Rod Brassfield. I have to look that up again. And then it says from KPRC Houston, Biff Colley. Now that's a name we haven't heard yet. I don't have any idea who that is. Biff Colley. If you know who Biff is, put it into the comments or the chat and let the rest of us know. And Luann's saying she hasn't been to an outdoor concert of live bands. I used to go a lot when I was younger, but I haven't been for probably 30 years. To an outdoor concert. I don't think I've been to an outdoor concert in that long. And Marion's saying that they still have some free and fun ones around her. In this particular concert with Elvis, 2,000 good seats. This is a smaller venue. And it's still only $1. And the kids are 50 cents. And you can get your tickets now at Melody Record Shop. And that means that Melody Record Shop's probably made some kind of deal with the Colonel. And this is at the Galveston City Auditorium. And we got another picture of Hank Snow. And this time he's wearing this shirt with a Native American on the front. And if you followed my series for a long time, and you remember one about a gift that Elvis gave to Ginger Alden, which was this amazing shirt that had Native American designs and heads on it, just like this one. Only I think there were 3 smaller ones. This is one giant Native American chief head on the front of Hank Snow's shirt. And you'll notice Hank Snow has one of those leather covers on his guitar, and it says Hank Snow. And you remember Elvis got one of those, and it says Elvis Presley. I wonder where Elvis got that idea from, huh? And where he got the idea for this shirt that he liked in the 70s from, that he gave to Ginger. Seems like these ideas might have hung in his mind for a while. I mean, he was using the leather cover in the 50s, but the shirt was much later. I'm going to have to find that shirt and pair it up against this picture so that we can compare again at some point. And City of Angels Girl is saying Hank Snow's son, or was it Jimmy Snow? I believe this is Hank Snow that we're looking at. And that Jimmy Snow, he was the friend of Elvis that later broke up with him. And this says Hank Snow, a Grand Ole Opry performer, will bring his all-star jamboree show. And it's kind of funny that he's using the name All-Star, because All-Star here is not capitalized. But All-Star Jamboree Show, I think that's the name the Colonel uses for the business. And that was the name on the check that we saw in a previous episode, where Elvis got paid $5,000 in advance for a tour he'd already done. But this says, we'll bring his All-Star Jamboree show here at 8 p.m. Monday in the City Auditorium. Others featured will be the Rainbow Ranch Boys and Elvis Presley with the Blue Moon Boys. So these Rainbow Ranch guys, like, they keep getting billing above Elvis. I don't know who they are either. But are they better than Elvis? Is that why they keep getting billing before him? I don't think they're Hank Snow's backup band like the Blue Moon Boys. Although maybe. Not really sure. If you know, let us know. And this says Wednesday, only 8 p.m. in person. Stars of Coast to Coast Grand Ole Opry, Hank Snow, Rod Brassfield, Rainbow Ranch Boys. Well, look at this. Rod got a promotion because they're using his name before Rainbow Ranch Boys now, which indicates that's not Hank Snow's backup band. Extra, extra. Nation's newest singing star, Elvis Presley, acclaimed by critics as the greatest new singing star in the past 10 years. Elvis got a promotion too, because in the previous ad that we saw that had a similar statement, it was 5 years. Now Elvis is the biggest thing in 10 years. And it only took like less than a month. We're not even out of January yet. It's only been a few days, really. And Steve says, just had a look at the Elvis the First Year LP, and Biff Colley was the announcer on some of the tours, and he also features on that album. Well, that's interesting. So there's a possibility we could hear Biff. I'll have to look into this. And Marion's saying, thank you, Steve. That's interesting. Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Elvis the First Year, and Biff Colley is on it. So we've also got the Blue Moon Boys, and they're listed separate than Elvis. I wonder if they're doing anything separate from Elvis, or if they're only playing when Elvis is on. I've heard some recordings of some of the early shows, and I don't remember anywhere they played by themselves that Elvis was not on stage with them. But that would be kind of interesting if they did. And it says low admission, 1,500 good seats. I wonder if that means there's bad seats too, because it always says good seats. But there's 1,500s of the good ones, and that makes this a smaller place than any place we've been so far, and it's only $1. You still get in at this one for $1. And that dollar seems like it'd be much more valuable here because there's only 1,500 people. So you'd be like much closer to the action. It says that kids are still 50 cents. And the tickets are now available at the record shop at 612 Brazos. I'm assuming that's an address. Maybe it's a telephone number, but I think it's an address. And it's at the Austin Coliseum. That's in Texas. The Austin Coliseum. And we got another ad. Tuesday, 2 big shows. So we're back to a double header. Let's go back to that last one. There's only one show at the 1,500 seater. And it's in Austin, Texas. You think you'd get more people there, but this one, they got to have 2 shows. It's 7 and 9 p.m. That means the show altogether must be about an hour and a half, because they got to have time to clear people out and get people in. And this is again stars of Coast to Coast Grand Ole Opry, Hank Snow, Rod Brassfield, Rainbow Ranch Boys, extra added Elvis Presley, RCA Victor's newest singing sensation. And from KPRC Houston, Biff Colley, Master of Ceremonies. So that's a confirmation of what Steve just told us. It's now in the ad. Master of Ceremonies. He's the MC. Low admission, 2,000 good seats, only $1. 50 cents for the kids. And tickets now on sale at Summers Rexall Drugstore at 600 Pearl in Beaumont City. I believe that's in Texas as well. And it's going to be at the Beaumont City Auditorium. So you can see how the Colonel's involving local businesses in the promotion of Elvis Presley and Hank Snow. You know, Colonel likes Hank Snow too. And here we just get a wrap up of what's been going on. January 14th. Said that was an unknown Texas town. I wonder if we saw that ad. I'll have to go back and look. And January 15th, they were in San Antonio for 2 shows. January 16th, Galveston, Texas for 1 show. We saw that ad. January 17th, we saw this ad, 2 shows, 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. We can even see that on January 17th, he performed Good Rocking Tonight, Baby Let's Play House, I Got a Woman, Only You, Tutti Frutti, That's All Right, and Heartbreak Hotel, which is his new #1 hit, quickly heading to 1 million records. And Luann saying maybe good seat for front or second row only. Would that be a different price than 3rd row or 4th row? Nope. I think they're all the same price. Every one of them's a good seat. It's just what the Colonel says about them all. They're all good seats. And they all cost the same. Because I don't think they're selling you seats back then. They're just selling you admission. And then you go in and get your own seat. There's an airline that does that. I can't remember which one, but I hate flying on it every time I get on because I don't have an assigned seat. And Marion saying that she remembers Jimmy Snow saying that one day his father didn't want to perform after Elvis anymore. Yeah, and it's I'm not going to say it's one of these concerts we looked at today, but it's somewhere around this time is when it's going to happen. I haven't outlined it exactly. It'll pop up in the research here. We'll all get to see it. But that's all we could do today because we've reached the end of the hour. I hope you guys found that to be an interesting hour, even though we spent half of it on what's on the bookshelf. But that gives you an idea of books that I've seen and books that I have, and some local or some current controversies in the Elvis world that are going on. And I don't really stay too topical on the Elvis world, so it's a rare one for me. And I'm going to send everybody out of here on a song. I want to thank you all so much for coming. Appreciate having you here. I really appreciate all the comments in the chat, whether you're here live or you're on the replay. This is Trust in Motion. You all keep on taking care of business.
Radio static, Memphis bound, WABQ homes a sacred sound. Green, green grass, again and again. The DJ's risk for a loyal friend. Elvis smiles, no words exchanged, just a test of love on a range. Keys in the dark, showroom glow, a Cadillac waits in a silent show. Merry Christmas, GK said, a yellow chariot, tears unshed. What's fame and fortune worth, my friend, if it's not something we can lend? The Chevy Impala, still shining new, passed from Klein to the Circle G crew. Gary Petner wheels instead of rails, rode the road with Elvis in his face. Sterling drove it, errands and guard, a father's devotion, quiet and hard. He couldn't walk, but he moved the crowd. Fancy twisted, but faith is allowed. No Carlos filter, no machine spin, just Kelly's
lights came down on Vegas gold. July heat, a crown retold. Applause like thunder, stars alive. But one true friend was not in line. A telegram, a quiet grace. From 12 years deep, a loyal face. I read your words, they calmed the flame. In all that noise, I spoke your name. I wish you could have been here, Gary. The velvet night, the roaring crowd. But in my heart, your voice was steady. A whisper soft, the faith unbowed. 4 more weeks, this fire will fade. I'll find my way back through the haze to Graceland's porch where silence sings and friendship wears no stage or wings. The suits, the gifts, the famous hands, they cheered the king, they made demands. But in the mirror doubt would stare, and only you knew what was there. I wrote you lines in trembling ink, not for the press, not for the drink, just for the man who saw me hold beyond the glitter, past the road. Say hello to everyone, I'll be home when this is done. The curtain falls, the echo fades, but you remain my serenade. 4 more weeks, this fire will fade. I'll find my way back through the hay to Graceland's porch where silence sings. Friendship wears no stage or wings.
Midnight lights, rhinestone fire, Arabian suit, burning with desire. He hit the stage like thunder rolls. Vegas shook and the story unfold. Charlie's birthday, crowd went wild. He cracked a joke, then sang with style. But just before he sang Hurt So Deep, he stopped the show and made us weep. He gave away his heart, not just a song, diamonds and gold, where the love belongs. Rings and shades from the man backstage. He healed the broken, he lit the flame. Oh, he gave away his heart, and I saw it all that night. Blackened hair, the man stepped near. Elvis smiled, the crowd could hear. Thanks to you, we raised the light. 17,000 hearts took flight. Then back behind the velvet door, he gave away a little more. Music ring, a boxcar shine,
a suit that held his sacred time. He gave away his heart, not just a soul, diamonds and gold, where the love belongs. Rings and shapes from the man backstage. He healed the broken, he lit the flame. Oh, he gave away his heart, and I saw it all that night. He didn't need applause to know his worth. He gave away his soul in Vegas mirth. Not just a king, but something more. A man who knew what hearts were for. Gave away his heart, not just a soul. Pieces of love where the brave belong. Ritual gifts from the man backstage. He saved the hurting, he the flame. Oh, he gave away his heart, and I'll never be the same. I was there, I saw the rings, I saw the light. Gave away his heart.